Well, good evening, everyone. This is Steve Reiser. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. This is the Sunday night look at the week ahead. Going to be a very active week in earnings season. Really get kicked off with a bang. We have a number of them, so let's get a sight and sound check, please, just to make sure that you guys can see everything and you can hear me. Otherwise, thanks, Ed. Art, well, Chris, well done. Glad to have you guys here. And Ed is my old sidekick here. He's will post some of the links. You can follow me along on TopGunFutures.net. It's a blog, and Hidden Run Candlesticks. My StockTwits handle is stocktwits.com/1973 HOG. And then I have a YouTube channel where I post up the market preview every morning. I should get that up before 9 o'clock. And maybe 9:15, but it's before the market opens. It's no more than about 5 to 10 minutes long. And I also post significant trades that we take in the futures trading room, and I cover some things with lessons learned and the like. Obviously, you can lose money if you trade, and just a little bit about me. I'll give you a chance to read that. I've already posted up the earnings list, and I think a look at the week ahead. Let's see that I can go ahead and post that out. So in case you want to go back and look, you've got it. Full-time trader since 2009. I am a technical trader, but I use some limited fundamentals like earnings and things like that to pick out some stocks that are moving. Anyway, I moderate a live futures trading room right here in room 3, and I'll have to go over that in a little bit. Okay, let's go here. This is our agenda. We're going to start with the economic calendar, then earnings, a brief market overview at the top, primarily futures right now, but it gives us an idea where we're going. A few trade ideas, then some not stock specific Q&A out there, and then you guys know, David, I'm a little older than that. I retired in 1993, so that was a long time ago. I flew F4s, F5s, and F111s. And I was in the original Gulf War in 111s. All right, here we go. Here's the economic calendar. We've got Chicago Fed at 8:30, but on 10 on Monday we have existing home sales. We have PMI out at 9:45 on Tuesday. New home sales at 10 on Wednesday. The petroleum report. We trade this one and trade it. That's usually the only time we trade oil during the week. Not always, but we pretty much guarantee that we will trade there if the setup is there. And I'm going to jinx myself when I say this, but I don't remember the last time we lost on a Wednesday trade, but it was probably about 6 or 8 weeks ago. Durable goods at 8:30, international trade at 8:30, and jobless claims on Thursday. GDP, and then consumer sentiment at 10 after the market opens. So once we get by the 8:30 on Thursday, it kind of slacks up, and there we are. Earnings calendar. Trust me, this is an eye test, but that's why I put it out there on a PDF form for you. I've highlighted the ones that I think are some of the biggies you're going to have out there. Halliburton before the bell tomorrow morning, and Google afterwards, and then you go on. Of course, I would have to highlight before the bell on Tuesday of HOG, the Harley Davidson folks. But there's a number of people that are reporting Boeing, both telephone, AT&T and Verizon report this week. Visa reports this week. One of my favorite software companies, CTXS, reports. Las Vegas Sands, MasterCard, McDonald's, a couple of banks, Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, Expedia, Intel, Juniper, Starbucks, XOM, and Chevron Texaco on Friday, and Phillips 66 also on Friday, along with Twitter. All right. Anyway, I did post that up there. You can, and thanks a lot, Ed, for reposting it. All right. There's treasure everywhere. We just have to find it. Well, let's go get the market overview and see if we can find some. I always like to start with the U.S. dollar. And U.S. dollar has, I'm going to go out to a 6-month chart. Oh, sorry, now a year. Where we were starting down, we bottomed out, and we rallied quite a bit. And it looks like now for the last couple of days we struggled to go back up. We're really in a trading range from about 93 and a half to about 95 and a half. And we're bouncing back and forth between those. Crude oil really backed off sharply. If we go back and look over a year, we've had a very, very steady rise. We've had some very substantial corrections, and this is one of them if we can rally back up. But this is not looking so hot for the oil bulls. The last 3 or 4 days, we just we run into overhead sellers. We just cannot get going to the upside. My stochastics RSI momentum indicator is pointing up, and if we can get over about $69, we'll run to 71 in a hurry. Then we'll run into resistance, but then over that we could go to 74. But one step at a time, we've got to get going higher to start with before any of that comes into play. Gold is basically dead money. Right now we're getting a reversion to the mean bounce. Probably going to have to get over this 1250 area before I'm interested at all. More than likely 1260. We've got to set higher highs and higher lows and do that in the zigzag pattern, and then we will establish a new trend. Right now, we're still in a downtrend even though we have a couple of days up. Up days in a downtrend. I'm going to go to the U.S. 10-year. U.S. 10-year is rising a bit. That should help the dollar. Maybe on Monday the dollar will rally a bit. We're up to 2.895. Quite a bit better than, or higher than, most countries around the world. All right, let's look at the equity markets. Equity markets, starting with the S&P. Stochastics RSI is backing off. It's basically resting, and we're not pulling back very far. This is telling me that since we're not pulling back a long ways, I don't care what the market internals are, or the short-term trend. We're going down. We're still above the 8, which is Rick's T-line. We're still above the 17 exponential, which is what I like to track. As long as we stay above 2780, we'll be fine. And it doesn't look like we want to even get close to that. So as long as we're pulling back and we're maintaining price above this 2780, I'm bullish for the next move. I'm not sure what it's going to be the impetus. Maybe it's Google. Maybe it's some of the oils that do well and report this week. But earnings season is going to have its impact. NASDAQ plus 10 right now tonight. The stochastics RSI indicator has almost pulled back to the bottom. When I get a crossover, I'll get a confirmation of price, but I look at price first. I only use my stochastics as a confirming indicator. And we're holding up very nicely on price. If we hold this 72.25, we're still in an uptrend. Russell, this one's actually got me a little confused because the stochastics RSI rallied here, and we really couldn't get off the schneid basically for the price. We could not even right now get up to 1701, the prior swing. So I'm wondering if it's going to have to go sideways or pull back. This little reddish brown line you see here at 1677, that's the volume point of control. Basically, the most volumes occurred at that level. That acts as a very, very significant support level. We've got to stay above that, and we're probably good to go to the upside. So we may see some, or we may be seeing some rotation in the markets. I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to watch for any divergence. The Dow's up 44 tonight. Stochastics pulling back just much like the Nasdaq and the S&P. The S&P and the Dow have been trading pretty much in the same direction, even though not necessarily the same degree of levels, because the S&P has gotten back up to the prior swings and the Dow has not. The Dow had financials holding it back for a while. Now it's oil holding it back. There's always something. It's only 30 stocks versus 500 in the S&P. So it's still looking pretty good. We hold kind of above these levels. We could probably even pull back to the 50-day moving average and still be considered bullish in the longer term. In the shorter term, we probably got to hold, what is that, 24,900 or so. All right. Transports I was really, really concerned about till late last week, and now they are rallying. My stochastics RSI was pointing up. It came up off the bottom, and I think we're going to probably have trouble with this level that we're currently at, around 193 and change, 194, because there's a heavy amount of volume at this level. And the VIX. VIX closed at just under 13 last week and is still there. We did have a spike on Friday all the way up to 13.5, but we closed under 13. I don't know what we're going to see when it opens for trading overnight, but I suspect it will creep higher a little bit because we're pulling back, but it probably won't go crazy. All right, let's go over back to our chart. All right, I'm going to go over some trade ideas, and let's see. I posted the trade ideas in the announcements, I believe. No, that's not true. Let me go here to temp 3. Okay, and there's the it, and right here. Okay, those are the trade ideas with a link out to FinViz so you can see all the charts at one over the world view. And let me bring up my TC2000 here. And let's zip it up here. Okay, I basically got about 10 stocks here. Some of them are actual long trades. Some of them are here just to show you how you can trade earnings after the fact and make money. AKRX, I think, goes up here to about 19.25 to 19.5. It's curling back up. Eventually, I see it going to 21. It's going to have a tough time over 21. This March the 1st, 2017 is not a good date for reporting, but I have no idea. Before you hold something overnight, and preferably before you actually enter a trade, double check to see what the next earnings date's going to be. Even if you have to go to investor relations at the firm. I've called people before and asked them when are they going to have it. They'll be happy to tell you if they know. Alex, looks like it's curling up. Was a Thursday night, Friday trade idea. Could not get over the volatility stop, but if it gets over the 24.50, it goes up to about 26 or so. I believe the area chart says that we could probably go up to about 28 on this go round. Church and Dwight, CHD. Nice, good, solid move up, a pullback. Here's our one opportunity. And it looks like it wants to retest this $56 level. And if I do look at the weekly, we were at all-time highs. We pulled back. And if we can break higher, there's nothing to stop us up there. CHRS. Now, this is one of those that it's not a good place to actually do an entry here. But what I wanted to show you is that it gapped up and ran on earnings. Some people say, oh, I don't want to buy earnings. It's extended. I got to wait for a pullback. Yes and no. It's over, and it closed over the 1750 level. And over that the next day, one could go long looking for these to do a 45 or 30 degree angle up and to the right. That's really does well on using options because it's leveraged. Some of them, they don't move very much. This one only moves a dollar or so. But it's up to you as to how you trade it. But that's the pattern that usually develops, especially when they have high short interest. You know, more than 10% of the float short. And they gap up and they stay up over a swing or a consolidation period. You're usually going to get a drift higher up and to the right. That doesn't always occur, but it occurs more than it doesn't. Especially when it's on earnings. And that's why I track earnings. Cliff reported on Friday. With the short interest here in Cliff, I'm looking for him to drift up and to the right. Area chart. Where can we go? Can we really go to 11.5? Yeah. With all the shorts you have to cover. CSX was one that gapped up there. It was over the swing level. It maintained, and it's actually chopping higher, but it is grinding higher. That would be would have been a good option trade. Now here's one that I'm in, or was in. Fastenal gapped up. It closed right at this level. I entered on the end of the first day, the actual trading day, and then it just gradually climbed higher. Now again, on earnings, high short interest, and the target's 58. All the way up there. I think it's going to make it. I think I sold on Friday just because I wanted to take some profits on Friday. Flex. Flex is in the gap. It got up in here 2 to 3 days and it kind of went sideways. Good balance of power here. Stochastic says, you know what? They may be taking their time ahead of earnings on 726. I would love for actually to see a pullback. I've got this on my watch list. Not on my buy list, but it's on my watch list. And I want to see what it does on earnings. After it reports earnings, then I can get in. Yes, Kimberly, remind me when we get to the non-stock specific questions. That's cool. GOV. Now, technically, this one was a rounded bottom breakout back here, where it did a rounded bottom breakout move up. Let me get my crayons for a second. It did the move up above the 50. Let me get a blue instead. Okay. Move up above the 50. Pull back. Lots of them pull back to that 50 period moving average, and then went up here and stabilized. Where did it stop at? I contend that if there's a large difference between the 50 and the 200, we'll stop somewhere around the 100. We stopped at the 100, but that's also usually a case where we have price to the left. In this case, we did not. We had an overlap over here, but it's not enough for me to say that that's exactly what stopped it. but that would be the first target. Then it does a pullback. And I highlighted it back here on the 11th of June, and it ran up. Then it's doing a pullback. A lot of people say this is too deep a pullback because it's under the volatility stop. Yes, it is, and no, it's not. And what I would contend, and if I do the poor man's Fibonacci and do the quadrant lines, and I draw it from the low over here to the left, it pulled back 50% to the low. Let me move this one. The low here in early June, topped out in early to mid-July, did a pullback. Where did it pull back to? Just, people say, oh, it pulled back to the 50% line. Well, yeah, I guess it did, but guess what it really pulled back to and stopped? We had 3 candles right there at the bottom of this one and the top of this one over here. So we had 3 to 4 candles that acted as support, and it held. So I think it goes back up here to 1675 and most likely higher. Let's see what the area chart brings. The area chart says it's going to struggle in the 18s. Maybe something like 18 and a half or so. So let's see. Right now, I'll take a couple of dollars to the upside and go from there. Another one that reported and is still doing okay. Earnings, high short interest, up and to the right. Have to be patient with these. They wiggle a bit. Honeywell reported on Friday. Excuse me. Sorry. I want to do that. I think it goes up initially to the 157 level. And ultimately, there could be a case to be made for 165 or so, but one step at a time. If I was at 153 and I go to 157 over the next week or so, I wouldn't mind that at all. Maybe buying some September calls deep in the money. MIC, it reports on 8/1. That's week after next. We're going to get a run into earnings into the gap. I don't know. I'm probably going to not trade this until after the earnings, but I've got it on my watch list. MRTX. Breaking out now above this $54 level. Area chart says yip-de-doo, we're at all-time highs. It reports an 8.2. It's a biotech. This one could be getting a run up into earnings. I'll be very careful and be watching this one. But if I get a pullback to the 54 level or so, even if it, let's say that it goes up here for a couple of days and then pulls back and pulls anywhere near the 54 level, it curls back up, I might be like white on rice. Alrighty then, let's go back to the charts. Now is the time for the general questions. Oh, thank you, Art. You know, I have not tracked that one directly, Rob, T-Rob. I probably ought to. I'll do that. I'll go back to the last few, but just off the top of my head, I'm winning on between 3 and 4 out of 5. You know, a 60% batting average with options. If you don't let them go too far to the downside, you're pretty darn good. The key, though, is, as ZD said, I want to see high short interest if I can. Okay, so I want a gap above consolidation. I want it to be on earnings because I'm looking at the reaction. I want it to be above a swing level and preferably against the prior trend. If the prior trend is down and it gaps up, or the vice versa, everything I say could be taken to the downside with the opposite. I want it to hold on that first day, and then I can either get long. If I'm really aggressive, I can get it long on the end of the day, anticipating a move up, or I can wait for a break above the high of the body of the prior day. And let's, I believe See, Honeywell's right at this one. I don't know that it's going to continue, so I didn't do anything on Friday. GWW, that one I would have. I did not go on. What was that? Wednesday. Wednesday I had to go help my mother with something, so I was out. And on Thursday I did not enter it. Believe I was having issues with something. Fastenal I did enter. Oh, CSX I did enter. I got into MyGen and see how much heat that I had to take on it. I thought it was earnings related or some sort of FDA announcement or something. All it turned out to be was an upgrade from a second tier brokerage house. It caused it to move up that much. It still had all this green bop. I stuck with it. I almost got shaken out on this day of last Monday, but I didn't, because what happened is that I tried to do it on a closing basis and it closed up. It never got below my 35 to 40% loss on an option. I had August dated options, and I was deep enough in the money that it didn't give it all away. But what I did is once I got up to here and it started looking all week on Friday, I took my profits. It was only a couple of dollars per contract, but hey, that's $400. I'll take $400 in a little over a week any day. But see, that's really what it is the nice bop. Short interest. I thought earnings. It turned out to be an analyst upgrade. And that's why I pick up on earnings, because this would very easily could have just come right on crashing back. Okay, let's look and see where Kimberly wanted me to share the PCF file for my tradable stocks. Okay, I've got here what I'm doing here. And I'm going to do a snapshot here, and I'll explain to you what all of them are. Okay, these are my personal parameters. Everybody can have their own. I don't trade stocks below $5. Stocks below $2 are a bankruptcy waiting for a place to happen, if you ask me. But the reason that $5 or higher, a lot of the big boys will not get into $5 and under stocks. They just won't. They can't. It's in their charter that they can't. And I want to be up there with the big boys who are more predictable. Average to range greater than 0.25. You have an average to range already inside TC2000. My average daily volume, I want to be 485,000 or more. Why 485? Because I don't want to throw out something that my real number is about 500,000, and I said about. And the reason I make it 485 is if it's 493, I don't want it to be excluded just in case it's a good setup. Now, those are for swings. For very short-term trades like day trades or whatever, I want a lot closer to 1 million average daily volume. I know that Ed uses a combination of price times volume, I believe. Anyway, I won't put words in his mouth, but he uses a different criteria, and that's fine. Some people will trade less. And the reason I put down average to range of 25, if it's less than 25 cents, it's not moving. And that has to be a pretty inexpensive stock. Most of them are 50, 75 or over $1 a day. Absolutely, Ed. I totally agree. Now, Kimberly, let me know if that answered your question, and if it didn't, ask again, and I'll make sure I answer it fully. ZD wants to know, how do I find short interest since they took it away from TC2000? Excellent question. In fact, somebody else PM'd me for that. And what I do is I go out to a place called shortsqueeze.com. And let's go out to shortsqueeze.com. Come on. let me put in Fastenal. And I come down here under short interest. Now it's 8.54, but you're welcome, Chris. When I did it, it was over 10.7 or something like that. So it's shrinking. That would be to be expected. So I'm getting a short covering rally. Well, another reason to possibly say, you know what? I got $400 or $500 of profit in this puppy. Why don't I just ease on out of here and I'll take my half out of the middle. See, I don't try to get and squeeze every drop of juice out of the lemon. I just try to get my half out of the middle. Now, do realize that all of these short interest reports are anywhere between 2 and 6 weeks late behind, because we're not paying for real-time short interest. Bob asked, question on REITs and rising interest rate. Are REITs at risk with rates rise? It all depends. There are some of them that it's less than others. It depends on how they've got it structured. There are mortgage REITs that have more variable rate mortgages in their portfolio. They get hurt a lot less and maybe even get a benefit when rates rise, as long as they don't rise too quickly. So what most of the REITs have gotten is because you look at the bigger picture of the 10-year. We zoomed up to 3 and change, and that's when a lot of the REITs really pulled back and they got oversold. Again, this is my fundamental view of the world. Then we came crashing down to 2.75 again, and it overshot the reality of everything. And now we're kind of settling out. It's like they threw a rock in the water, we had a big splash, and then we have the rebound, and then the next wave is less, and then less, and it kind of settles in. And that's really what we're doing. And some of the REITs are rallying because they're seen as good dividend payers, and the interest rate risk is, in their mind, maybe less than it was back over here when they were fearing it was going to the moon, and people could be trying to go defensive. All right. Robin asks, on my earnings trades, do you usually enter on the first day or the second day, if first day early or late in the day? If you're going to day trade it and you're really on top of it, and I cannot be if I'm in the futures room, so I can't do it in the morning, but I'm going to go back to Fastenal. Fastenal only gapped up to right here. So there's no one right answer. In this one, I could think that it's probably going to rally up to the 54 and a quarter, but that's really a day trade. So if it doesn't gap up right to a swing or consolidation level, now it did kind of gap up right here in this 52.75 level. Let's see, GWW. Let's see what it gapped up. It gapped over the consolidation and over the swing. Nothing above it. At high short interest, I suspect that this one was going to run. Now, I'm going to go back and see if I can get to a 5-minute chart on this. And see what happened here. It gapped up. It got ahead of itself. All right. And I just had to slow this going on here. All right. It gapped up. And I use a 5-minute opening range to help me judge whether to get in it, and if so, where. Ideally, I'd like for it to stay above the halfway level of this opening candle and then rally above the body and then go long. This one had such a huge gap from 305 to 335. If you use somewhere around 1/3 down from the top, 2/3 up from the bottom, where did it go? It went to there. Let me do a poor man's Fibonacci. And it did the 50% level. I was eyeballing it and thinking it was about 50%. I thought it actually was going to be a little below. And I could think of going long on this, or at least maybe going long when it gets over these levels here, when some people did that. And I bet you on a 15-minute chart, it looks a little bit better. But you could use a 5-minute or a 15-minute opening range. You could use whatever works for you. And every stock is going to be a little bit different. I could enter at the beginning of the day if it's going to run like a scalded dog and I'm going to do a day trade, and then get out near the end of the day and maybe convert it, some of my winnings for an option. Longer dated option. It all depends. There's so many different ways. I mean, I have probably about 6 webinar hours of talking about how to trade gaps and earnings. Chris asks, is red BOP important on up-moving stocks like MRTX? Okay, let's double check. Okay. I use BOP as secondary. I really look at price. I'm going to look at the EMAs here to help judge where we are in the trend. This was at a gradual incline, and then it leveled off, and it went back to a climb again. Well, gradual climb, pullback, up, sideways. If I go to a 3-day chart, you can kind of see the sideways consolidation. If I go to a weekly chart, you definitely see the consolidation. And you can see it basically right there. And on the weekly, you've seen the BOP was green, and then it's kind of tailed off a little bit. But let's go back to one. Daily. There's the consolidation left over now from the weekly chart. And this was red BOP. And it was only a little bit red. It was a shade of red. It wasn't solid red. But I don't use that as primary. I wasn't looking to get in here until we got a breakup above. And guess what? Stochastics RSI's curling up, and the BOP's getting better every day. And we had a lot more volume on this breakout than we had before. Anything over 10%, surely I consider high enough. The higher the better, but if it's really too high, it gets me to wonder about it. Yeah, look at multiple time frames on everything, Chris. Sometimes you could see, some people can't see the consolidation here on the daily chart. They might see it on the 3-day chart. Most people can see it on the weekly chart, 5-day chart, and see how the BOP is different. The BOP in here is still green. On the 3, it's not green. On the daily, it's not green. Okay. Where are we again? Kimberly, okay. Okay. Fabio, do you have TC2000? Okay, well, I'll explain it anyway so those who have it, who want to look at, I call this the EMA only chart. And what I do is I go to edit chart, I right click, edit chart properties, and under price style, It doesn't matter what colors I've got. I take this slider bar and move it all the way to the left on the plot opacity, and the candles disappear. Kaboom. Disappear. Reappear. Disappear. Hit OK. And now I used the 8 and the 17. The 3 is on there. It's, if I wanted to show it, it would give me, excuse me, put that on there. It would give me some sort of early indication if we're possibly making a change. I found that most of the time I don't need it, so I just use 2. I want them to be in parallel. I want them to be going up or going down, but not going flat. I don't want them going sideways like this. I definitely don't want them going sideways back over here. MRTX was not trading very high price back then. All right. And on the EMAs, you can look at a daily. You could actually look at the weekly chart, 5-day chart, or a 3-day chart. But I keep it on the daily to start with, and I just either hit the 3 button or the 5 button. I don't go normally to a 2 or a 4. It's either 1, 3, or 5. Okay, now let's go. Thanks for the site. See, I shortened this. You're welcome, Fabio. All right. I'm going to put in a marker here for stocks. 1 stock only. And tell me whether you're thinking long or short in this one, or you're already in it. Okay, but only 1 stock, so we can get out of here at a reasonable time. We're 45 minutes. I've been a little bit long talk today. Or if you're just looking at it and which way you're thinking about. Okay. Here we go. Haha. HEAR. Here is here. Turtle Beach. Make headsets. Nice move up. I bet you this was an earnings play back here because I marked the 45-degree run. Look what it did. It moved from 1160. Probably would have sold it around 17 something. $6 on $11 stock. 50% in about a week. You take that one, huh? Okay, sorry. Let's go back here. You're looking. CD, you are long or you're looking long? If you are long, that's great. Just trade the plan. If you're looking to go long, here's the problem is it's a little extended. I'm going to want to pull back. The balance of power was really green back here to the left, and now it's kind of waned away. I don't know. Let's look at the area chart. I use a weekly on the area chart. And wow, this thing was way up there in the early 2000s, huh? Must have been a favorite stock. Boy, this has gone way up, way fast. Maybe look at a weekly here and see what's got to the left. Wow, these are way back. Right here around $27 to $28, it's got a shelf over here that's going to act as resistance. Let it do another pullback like it did at 20. Wait for a buy signal. That's what I do. Doesn't look bad, but it's just not here. Cree, looking to go long. Hey, Roger. Okay, the first thing I'll do is go over to the EMA only chart. Did move up, pull back, kind of going sideways. Report's 8/14, so we got a month away. This kind of looks like, if I really want to try to pass my Rorschach test, kind of like a cup and handle, with this kind of being the handle here. Probably moving up here to the $50 level. But you're going to have to march through this. The easy money has been made. And the balance of power has turned back to green, so that gives you some confidence that the big guys are buying into it. Up 3 or 4 days in a row, I'd like to see a pullback, even if it's intraday pullback. But this is going to march up higher. The fact that it's got earnings on the 14th, it may not cooperate with you to make you be able to get a whole lot of money on it. UIS. Oh, Unisys. All right. Did a big move up here. 731 earnings. That's week after next, but early week after next. I don't know what caused this move up here. Maybe there was rumors about somebody wanting to buy them or something. Let's look at a 3-day chart. My goodness, that looks like a good flag, right? Man, I could see it. What you're going to have to do, you got to break the pennant or break the high here. The fact that it's a $15 stock, probably going to make it break the high. Come on, 1. Go to 1. There you go. And it's been holding above this 1375 level. I have not seen a buy signal here yet. Even though I like that flag on a 3, not necessarily so much on the 5-day, 3-day chart, I don't see a buy signal yet. And one other thing, if you are interested in it on the 3-day chart here, and you enter on the 3-day chart, you need to stay on the 3-day chart. Don't start flipping around and go back down to the daily or the 5-minute chart. If you enter on a higher time frame, or whatever time frame you entered on, you continue to trade in that time frame. Don't switch horses in midstream. HAE already in. Look, trade the plan then. Yaha. Well, that looks good. Good volume. Reports an 8.7. That's still far enough out. I have noticed a number of medical instrument companies are moving. Good bop on here lately. Have a plan. Have you taken any money off the table, at least partially, some profits if you can? If you can't, make sure you know where your stop is and how far you'll give it if it has to pull back. Okay. Rick T wants to look at Wally World. And he says it's long. Short put already at 80. Okay. This is really goofy. That's a 3-day chart, and notice how it's really kind of doing a rounded bottom. Here's the weekly. You can see the rounded bottom. It needs to get over this 89 to 89.5 level. And then it could pick up some steam over maybe 90 and a half. But right now, this was a gradual one. They report mid-August. There is a lot of trading over here. Let me go back over to my... okay. I'm going to bring this up because I have volume at price. Even though volume at price is on TC2000, it is not good. It's not usable. We're at probably some of the most volume here. See how this volume, this is the point of control, and it's rolling back to 87.25. It's having trouble getting through this area. It got down below it and then got back up. If you get over this $89 level, it starts to lose the overhead resistance. And the next set of resistance is probably 92 to 93. Yeah, and we start to get climbing up, and then you get over this 93, 94 level, we could zoom up. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Right now, it's fighting to get up over this consolidation. So I'm going to go to a 2-year weekly and show you what the weekly chart is. Yeah. It's battling with 89.5. It's the best I can tell you. Richie S. XOM. You're long via options with two at the money, options with 2 weeks out. Actually, is this, we say options, you mean calls or you mean puts? And it has earnings this week, I think on Friday, wasn't it? Friday AM. It sure is. Okay, I got out of my short because when oil went down 4% and other oils, this one rallied. And I went, my stochastic says it should be going down. It's not behaving right, so I exited with a very tiny profit. Turns out that I could have stayed in and got a little bit of a profit, but I would have had got out this week. Have you decided whether you're going to hold over earnings? Earnings may or may not be well for this. If stocks miss earnings, they get absolutely hammered. Always have, and then this time it's even in this volatile environment, they get absolutely toasted. So you have to decide what your game plan was, and should have had that up front. And at the money, I'm not really sure. I'd have to come. No, most straddles are not good because they're going to put enough premium in there that usually the straddles will then immediately, okay, you've got calls. Let's go look at the EMAs real quick. See how it's kind of flattening out. There's no conviction ahead of earnings. So I don't know what to tell you. It's not a sell today, but it could have been a couple of days ago, right in here. $82. That was what I was looking at. Break 82. You got supported around 81, around the 50. You had, sorry, that's the 200. You've lost the 50 a little bit here. I mean, there's no conviction to hold it up. If I draw a T line on XOM, well, it's below the T line. Trend line. Okay, you're talking about, I'm not as big a proponent of trend lines, and I guess I've seen what you're talking about. I don't normally do things like this. I will take the lowest lows under those. You got to turn now. Now, the stochastic RSI says that it's ready to go back up, but price has to tell us it is. I mean, people could have said, people could have made a case that that was a trend line right here, but it's dips below on either end. So I just think trend lines and Western patterns, not price levels I like, but trend lines and Western patterns, I think you can invent pretty much stuff that's everywhere. Do trend lines hold? I guess it does if a lot of people use them, but I know what people do use. They use price levels. Pure dollars. So you have to figure out what your game plan is. I'm not really trying to tell you you're wrong. You're going to hold through earnings, so be it. Options, you have a defined risk. It could go to zero on your calls, but not probably. if you're right at the money right now, there's, yeah, I normally buy a 70%, 70 delta when I get in. Okay, let's go back up. ZFGN. This looks nice. Tom D, well done. What's your game plan? Make it get over 11. Good balance of power. My stochastics RSI is a little bit on the toppy side, so it may pull back. This could be a double top. It could just be a little bit of a rest. If it opens up and trades early this week to the upside, and you're through 11, good. If it pulls back, it most likely goes back to this level of around, was it 990? Figure out whether you can stand to take the heat on the pullback. Celgene. Celgene looks a little on the toppy side, but that's okay. The stochastics RSI is really a shallow pullback. Look at a 3-day. Yeah, and a weekly. So Celgene hasn't been doing very well lately. Let's go back to a daily and let's go to the EMAs. Yeah. So you see how it's kind of curling over. I say toppy. That just means that it may want to pull back to 83.5 or so. You have to decide how far you're going to let it go back and how far out are your options and how deep in the money are you. EXPD. They have earnings on the 7th. Okay. They gapped up here on earnings and see what happened here. I didn't mark that one. It did a move up and then sideways and then continued the move. Balance of power. Stochastics RSI. Break above this level. All right, what do we got here recently though? Weakness. More than likely, fears of trade war, less goods being shipped. Let's look at a 3-day. Looks like it's really gone back. I don't see as much on the weekly, but on this 3-day, and did you say you were long already on this one? I didn't see that from Bob S. I'd make it get over the 73.75. Yeah, make it get over 73.75 at least. You are going to run into resistance here around 76. You may want to drill down to a 60 and trade it off that 60. And here's that resistance at 75 to 76. There might be easier ones to trade out there, Bob. CPG for Larry. Whoa. Am I on the daily? No. That's in no man's land. At least I see it as no man's land. I don't see a pattern other than I was seeing higher highs and higher lows, slightly higher low, higher high, and we made an equal low. Let's see what we do about this. I line up on the bottoms. This is the way I do trend lines, which is not it's not the Hoyle's rules of trend lines. The bottom black lines I try to line up, and on the way up I try to line up the black box or the white boxes. So this one, that one, that's an excursion that's above, so I try to line those up basically. And I say that this was an aberration because it came right back down. So you basically had some sort of little wedge going up, but you lost it. I don't like this one. Maybe if it gets back up over here over $7.90 or $8. It's not for the faint of heart as well. It doesn't move my average true range, so I've never seen it. But that's 3.16% per day. And I'm seeing pockets of resistance here. That's where we ran into 770. That's why I pulled back. Got another one right here around 8. And got another one up here. This is going to take some time. I think there are easier trades out there, sir. I've lost it. Bobby wants to look. Oh, Bob, shame on you. Slap your wrist. I'm going to take ARQL. You put out 2 of those, and you're supposed to put out 1. All right, did it move up? Almost 100% retracement, curl back up. You're welcome, Larry. Over the longer term, this is a 3-day chart. You still did a deep pullback. Weekly chart, not necessarily so bad. Do you want to trade this on a weekly? I don't see good bop. It's a biotech. It's had most of its run from about 250 to 7. Now it's pulling back to the 5 area. Go back to the daily. I'm going to need to see higher highs and higher lows. I am not interested in this at all. Not even with your money. Okay, ADP looking to go long. Ed, could you put another set of crosses for me there, please? Thank you. Bob L just got in under the wire. ADP reports week after next. ADP EMAs. It moved up. Then it's gone sideways here. We can see that from the bobbing and weaving. 3-day chart. Deep pullback, still have it struggling to get back over 140. Weekly chart, pullback, struggling to get over 140. Decent bop on the weekly. Can't say that for the 3-day. It's okay for the daily chart. I don't see anything that's compelling that tells me I have to be in this one. Too difficult. For 10 days to run for earnings, I'd pass and wait. Go to something else. Yep, thanks, Mr. Ed. Ta-da. And last one tonight. Yay. I can get some dinner. ABR on a daily. Wow. That is a daily? Well, good bop. It's a REIT. Oh, that's 20 cents. 11 to 11.75, 75 cents in a pullback. I have no idea what this news was. But obviously there was some news, maybe an upgrade. I'd be hard-pressed to do that on a daily. You could possibly drill down to a 60-minute chart, but I'd sure want to know, why did that go up? Was that Arbor, A-R-B-R? No, ABR. And then I go over here to news, and let's see if we're... $7.17. Private offerings, but that's not going to help them. Maybe they're converting. I could open this up, but it's probably they're going to convert some short-term debt to longer-term debt, and they think that that's better for them. They do have earnings coming up. On a 60, you could definitely go long in this one. This is probably going to revert back to the norm. This had an unusual pop, and now it's just probably going to be a T-line runner. Okay, ladies and germs, thank you very much. I skipped over Roku. I am so sorry. I do remember that now. When it's hard to try to keep track of those. I was long Roku over here. When it got up and kind of stabilized at this $47 level, I gave up on the options. It did kind of move up there. And when does it report? 8/8. 2 weeks from hence. Now, looking back from here, I have a longer term projection. Let's pull this down. There it is. 53 to 57. That's 52.99 and 57.01. Okay. So it's pretty close to where the Fibonacci projections were. It's getting a little long in the tooth ahead of earnings for now. The BOP is not as strong as it was back over here to the left. I would say, Gwen, that most of the easy money has already been made. Now let's do a look at a 3-day for you. Okay. See this level here, 52.30? It's having trouble. You're getting some people. It's gonna pause or pull back at 52.30, I believe. Oh, you're already long. Great, fantastic. You have decided to hold it. Make sure you know where the volatility stops. 48.16. You could possibly put it down below this candle here, or under 48. Yeah, I wouldn't put it under that candle. You may want to drill down. Oh, what am I looking at? That was a 60-minute chart. Excuse me. I was on a 60. Yeah, this is looking okay. It's pulling back and going sideways. It's probably trying to set up for a new move. All right. Guys, gals, thank you very much. If you're not a member of Hit and Run Candlesticks, try the 30-day trial. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. If you have any interest whatsoever in futures, we have an open house till the 31st of August. Right here, no password. All right, you guys have a good one. Be safe. Aloha. Or did you have the news and toss? Okay. We were in which one? It doesn't really matter. ABR. Thank you, Ed. I'm just kidding. ABR. This is not toss. Let's look at Stink or Swim. There's ABR. If you look on the right-hand side, down at the bottom, there's live news. That's the other left-hand side. That's the right-hand side. I was just seeing if you were paying attention, right? And then I look on the day. Sweet, Quinn. I think that's a good plan. And then I double click on that and it brings up a whole pop-up window. The company intends to use a portion of the net to enter into private negotiating agreements with holders of their convertible. They're going to convert some of their higher notes. and then they're going to use some to spend. So they refinanced the house. They're going to buy down some of their other debt, and they're going to spend some on going out to eat. You know, when we had this go-go early 2000s, and people were financing cars and boats through home equity loans, basically refinancing, I went, wait a minute. A car lasts 7 to 10 years max, and they got a 30-year mortgage. They're paying it off in 30 years. Or worse yet, they go out to the steakhouse, have a nice dinner, and that dinner they're paying for the next 30 or 15 years. Right. Okay. Yep, living for the moment. And that was my sister. I better not say anything.